Welcome to the Ops Show, guys. I'm Jared. I'm founder and CEO of Luminous, and I'm here with Ron, the founder and CEO of Obvi.
Pleasure to be here, Jared.
We're going to dive underneath the hood of Obvi's operations to show you some of the issues that modern operators run into.
Well, before we get under our hood, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I started the brand Obvi about 5 years ago. When we started the brand, our goal was to create a collagen brand that women would love and talk about every day and all day. Now, as we started to scale the brand, mainly digitally, and being a Shopify native brand, we wanted to make sure that all the products we released were products that our customers loved. Now, we realized the products that our customers love, they also wanted to make sure they get it on time. They also wanted to make sure they had it fast, and they also wanted to make sure that it was always available. Now, these were a few things that we kind of took for granted because we had these excellent Google Sheets on our back end holding everything together. And then kind of at a blink of an eye, after doing over 90 million in sales now, we realized those Google Sheets aren't holding that back end together anymore. And that's when I met Jared.
It's so interesting. So I used to be CEO of an e-commerce company as well. And I think what you're talking about where the Google Sheets started to break is modern commerce has changed. So it used to be you're just a digitally native Shopify brand or you do a bunch through retail. Honestly, in the past 5 to 10 years, that's changed. In fact, the founder of Shopify, the CEO of Shopify, Harvey Finkelstein, he actually he doesn't even say e-commerce anymore. He just calls it modern commerce. It's like modern brands have met in the middle. It's no longer Shopify, Amazon brands, or retail. You're omnipresent.
That's a great point. And I think the other piece to this was when you talk about, modern commerce and its evolution, I think for us, we were so fixated on the fact that, we'll just always sell on Shopify. We'll just always sell this way. It's all set up properly. Nothing can go wrong. And I think the minute you realize that growth is kind of something that everyone wants but doesn't know how they're going to get it, that's what we didn't realize. We didn't know our growth's going to come through Walmart, Rite Aid, Sprouts, and all these other elements. And each element that we added, we realized that's the stuff that's breaking Google Sheets.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of people don't realize how they're going to grow, and building that foundation to be able to grow is what's important.
Yeah, Ron, that was a great point. I think so many companies feel like Obvi, where you've made a decision to go to specialty wholesale or you got a PO for your first PO from Walmart. And for a lot of modern operators, it feels like, oh man, we're so complex. Nobody is like us. And actually, what we've noticed that the more commerce companies where we dive into their backend, everybody is so similar. The same things are breaking.
That's such a great point. I love that call out because I feel like a lot of the founders I meet, a lot of the operators I meet, we feel like we can't talk about our backend because one, sometimes I don't want people to know that I was using Google Sheets. But two, I feel like that point is so true. Is I'm not going to tell this person who has an apparel brand how my back end is set up because I feel like it's probably so different. But if you go down to the roots of it, and it's great that you have that bird's eye view, it's probably not that different. And that's, I think, the part that makes this beautiful thing so complicated because some of it just feels mental.
All right. So some of you guys may be thinking right now, Jared, who the you? Well, let me introduce myself real fast. I've been in this space for 10 plus years. And what I always realized was whenever there was a big marketing change. So for example, when Apple changed their conditions and terms, and it affected a lot of brands. There was so much information about it. Everybody was posting about it. When massive changes in the way e-commerce brands operate, so for example, this massive rush to retail or wholesale, nobody talks about it. Who would spend so much time developing some framework for operators? This guy right here. I genuinely hope that this helps. I've really tried to dissect why operations feel so complicated as a e-commerce founder nowadays, and I hope this can help you out. So without further ado, here is what I call the complexity curve for operations. So I made this because I wanted to have some sort of framework where you can view complexity for your business so you can understand your complexity. Why do I feel so complex at this time, and what can I do to change that? Ideally, a business, these are decisions on the y-axis, and on the x-axis, you have time, or basically milestones. Okay? Ideally, a business gets slowly more complex over time. each time it makes a decision for growth, you can then make sure that it is supported by software or by processes. And for most businesses, it's pretty predictable. Like the stages of growth that you go through, many businesses have done it before. So it's easy to predict, okay, like when I make this decision, I will need this software system, which a million companies have done. There's a million resources and competitors that have done this before. And you just get slowly more complex over time. And you support each decision with processes and software. So that's normal business. With modern commerce, let's throw this out the window because it is not like that. So this is the complexity curve for most modern brands, just like Obvi. And after I implemented so many brands with Luminous, I started seeing the commonality between everybody. I could actually make them make sense in an actual framework. Modern operations, what does that look like? So you start out your brand, e-commerce companies, real easy to start out. And then guess what? Oh, way more complicated and then sort of peter out. So couple things at the beginning. How easy is it to start a brand, really? It's easy. It's really easy. Most people outsource their manufacturing and their fulfillment. Two of the most challenging things in business. In modern commerce, you're able to get a 3PL or a co-manufacturer super easy. So let's say you're starting a collagen protein brand. It's so easy to get a co-manufacturer and outsource your fulfillment. In fact, 70% of brands outsource these things. When your sales start increasing, and when especially the way you increase sales for modern commerce, this is when things starting to get a little bit more interesting. So this right here, this is just your beginning stage. And because of modern advancements in supply chain, it couldn't be easier to start. This is your growth stage. This is when a brand is going from, say, $1 million to something like 30 million in revenue, depending on your market, depending how big of a brand you actually are. But this is when you get exponential growth. So there are specific decisions that modern operators make that make them feel super complex in this short amount of time in this growth stage. So Obvi, very similar here. They went through their beginning stages and boom, they've hit a massive growth curve. In fact, in Obvi's case, instead of like 1 to 30, it's more like 1 to 50. But you get the idea. They are at the end of this growth stage. Obvi, in fact, this is why they're such a perfect example. They're like right here. They're not quite through their growth stage, but things will start to peter out in a little bit for them. So now I'm gonna dive into the most crucial part of operations for modern commerce, which is your growth stage. This is where things break. I have 4 specific decisions that operators and founders will make. So the first decision that I'm highlighting is going omni-channel. And you're probably like, of course, Jared, what other way would you do it? Well, there's 2 specific things I want to go over as it pertains to going omni-channel. So one is third-party channels. So these are channels like FBA or Walmart. Here's what people miss when they think going omni-channel is just a must. Like, of course, like why wouldn't I sell on FBA or why wouldn't I sell on Walmart? And here's how it affects the operators. So say you turn on FBA and you tell your operator like, hey, we're gonna start selling on FBA. And he's like, hey, okay. And then this happens. So he goes from just replenishing 1 distribution point, which this could be his 3PL. Guess what you just introduced now? So for FBA, let's say you turn on FBA for US, and let's say you're also doing the Walmart's version of FBA. So now your operator, you're not just selling through Amazon, you're not just selling through Walmart now. Fundamentally, you changed how Josh at Obvi has to replenish things. He now has to set up a separate Google Sheet and he has to replenish 2 more distribution points. Yeah, it sounds easy, but it's actually like running a totally separate business from a purchasing and replenishment standpoint. And this is hard. Josh was already having trouble replenishing his 2 3PLs from multiple co-manufacturers, buying raw materials, buying packaging. It's challenging, it's not easy. He's got 1 million Google Sheets. And now on top of this, he has to create another tab just to replenish FBA. He's got to manage that relationship now, which include special pricing, special delivery terms, and also Ravi, it includes payment terms too. So people just sort of fall into wholesale and it's like, no, this is a different way of doing business. And now Josh he's effectively running 2 businesses now. He's running the e-commerce replenishment side, which is already so complicated. He's replenishing multiple co-manufacturer raw materials. He's replenishing a 3PL. He's replenishing FBA, WFS. It's complete insanity. And on top of that, you're like, hey, also this totally different type of business, we need you to run that as well, which is the wholesale. This is why going omnichannel feels so complicated. And honestly, this is just the beginning of the complications. So the second one to dive into is wholesale. Coincidentally, there are also two things to dive into here. So the first one is what I call specialty wholesale. So these are the smaller relationships. There's nothing really too special there. Like the data interchange isn't too crazy. And a lot of times at the beginning, you're just sending an invoice via QuickBooks Online. It's pretty easy to manage. This, once you explode and when you have greater than 20 relationships to manage, this is when things start breaking. So again, following this curve, the wholesale is where you're starting to feel like, okay, this kind of feels complicated right here. When you have more than 20 relationships to handle. Second thing, big box retail. So I'll just put one thing here. I'll just leave it here for a little bit. EDI. This is how retailers such as Walmart or Target communicate. EDI is effectively like API for developers out there. It's just like API. They have their own API docs, which is EDI. What system are you using to receive your POs? Your 850. What system are you using to push out, for example, your ASNs? Your ASNs, this is just a shipping notification that goes to the retailers. And honestly, there's a million docs we could go over to. I'll leave it to this, but basically basic things like receiving a purchase order, sending tracking number. Here's something you'll run into as well. Your 3PL, who is going to be handling the GS1 certified labels? Have you ever packaged according to a retailer's specifications? These are all things that people don't think about. They just get a PO from Walmart and they're like, hell yeah, let's do it. In addition to all the things that are over here as well. Pricing, payment terms, deliveries, the relationship management side of things. Big box retail, you just add EDI on top of it with some really old-fashioned, high-maintenance girlfriend, and you get doing business with Walmart. So at this point, Josh is now operating a specialty wholesale business with all of the custom pricing and payment terms in another Google Sheet. And he is now manually transferring EDI documents or just physical documents, something that he has no clue on. And he's expected to just manage it with Google Sheets and duct tape. This point right here, this is actually where most people find Luminous after they've expanded to wholesale or their first big box retail relationship. Now we're on to decision number 3, and this is optimizing for cost. So what I've seen, every commerce company goes through this phase where they eventually hit a point where they have to optimize COGS. But at some point, Ron or somebody, me when I was a CEO, you look at the P&L when you're just like, what is going on? We have like 20% margins. Where is all of that going to? And when you start looking under the rug or you start peeling off the layers, this is where so many people, they question whether or not they should use a 3PL. Like, man, we're getting by this 3PL, or is that just part of the business? Or no, this is a good 3PL, but we just don't understand things. Anyways, this leads to optimization of cost. Like looking at the P&L, wow, we need to optimize things a little bit more. We need to get lower costs. What this turns into is more burden yet again on Josh. So the operator who is already operating this mind-bogglingly complex brand that sells to third-party listings, that sells wholesale, replenishes multiple distribution points, has 2 3PLs. Well, guess what, Josh? That's not good enough. We need you to buy raw materials and plan the sending of raw materials to your co-manufacturers. This is how Obvi started. 1 3PL that goes out directly to its customers. Pretty straightforward. Josh is just replenishing this. He's buying his goods from a local manufacturer. The goods get sent to the 3PL and it sends out. This is how it's going. Hey, Josh, we need you to optimize COGS. We need you to buy the packaging separately and the raw materials so that we can know that we're getting the most optimized costs so we can have the highest margins. Okay, Ron, no worries. Let's go ahead and do that. So he has, let's call it 3 manufacturers. He's buying raw ingredients, sending them to all of these different co-mans. to which he will replenish a West Coast and an East Coast 3PL, or sometimes a wholesale 3PL in the D2C 3PL, different replenishment paths depending on the POs, to which he is now replenishing FBA, WFS, and now he's fulfilling some wholesale POs. So let's put like Walmart. So, hey Josh, we need to do all of this. This is the difference. This is what the operator has to deal with. And most of the time, you're doing this on a Google Sheet in QuickBooks, and then you're expecting the financials or costs to be right. Again, this is a lot of times what causes people to go to Luminous is I can't manage this all on a Google Sheet. Keeping track of your cost layers across all of these distribution points so that you can understand what COGS is actually depleting and what your margin is. Yeah, that's really difficult. So at this point, Josh and the team, they're about to break. They're about to be like, see this delta right here between your decisions? What should be supporting your decisions should be software and processes. You've got none of that. You're still in Google Sheets and you are about to break. So let's move on to our last one, which is optimizing cost fundamentally changes how you replenish your products. So at this point, not only have you hit product market fit, you might have Ash, the marketer here at Obvi. He's going to come over to Josh and Ron and be like, hey guys, we've kind of figured out this arbitrage thing. Like it works. We can sell these products. We've hit product market fit. You know what we need to do? We need to expand our products 10x. So our competitors are doing this bundle thing, or, everybody's selling product X. And we totally could. And we could crush them. We're actually a better brand than they are. So again, all of this complexity that you've introduced, and they're like, Josh, let's just 10x the volume on all of this. And now you start to see this is where people bite the metaphorical bullet. So in this product expansion, real fast, most companies, they expand to 2-packs, bundles. They'll do retailer specific SKUs, very common in Costco, for example. So now Josh's management of all of these things, it's just exponentially more complex. This is 10 times more complex with 10 times more volume, and it's difficult. Even tracking sales for bundles and tracking sales and breaking that down for purchasing of raw materials. Yeah, that's hard, and doing it on Google Sheets, even worse. So this takes us to these operators, the CEO now, everybody, they want to rip their hair out. And this leads us to what I call the NetSuite fallacy. So let me save you 2 years of trauma and $2 million. Please, for the love of God, just listen to me. Most modern operators make the same mistake, which is NetSuite is going to solve all of my problems. They're flashing all of these solutions at me. Oh my God, they can do everything I want and more. NetSuite implementations overall cost more than $1 million. Plan to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars over a couple of years, if not multiple millions of dollars, and find out 2 years later that, hey, actually to do all of these things, like handle a omni-channel distribution, handle wholesale, handle optimization of cost and specific to the flow of e-commerce and product expansions, actually I'm gonna have to customize NetSuite, and it's gonna take 2 years of trauma and pain, and yeah, you don't have to go through that. So this takes us to the NetSuite fallacy, which is I am feeling so much pain. There is no software, no processes to handle my pain. This is what has led so many modern operators to NetSuite. I feel so complicated because of these 4 things. And NetSuite is flashing me all of the bells and whistles, and they're super loud, and they're like, we're the only people that can solve your problems, or this big tech platform that can do everything. NetSuite is a powerful product, but it wasn't purpose-built for modern commerce. You'll find out after $1 million in 2 years, oh, these specific things that I need, I have to customize NetSuite a couple $1 million, keep development on staff to upkeep this custom software that doesn't work for my use cases. Now, this, my friends, is not the answer. Enter Luminous. This is where Luminous shines. We understand these core decision-making processes. We literally come in and lift the weights off of your operator's shoulders. Luminous is purpose-built for modern commerce and these specific use cases that we went over. This concept that, hey, it's easy to start a business, but then at your growth stage, it gets really hard and you don't have budget for millions of dollars on back-end tech. You actually just need a system that understands the complexities of modern operations. That's Luminous. We can come in at any one of these stages right here, whether it's omni-channel is getting a little bit too hard to manage, or wholesale is just breaking your operators' backs, or EDI just isn't quite working well enough, or you're optimizing cost and replenishment flows, and you just need a system of record that actually tracks all that instead of a Google Sheet, or you've expanded to multiple different products. Wherever you're at in this journey right here, whenever this pain gets too much and you feel the need like, oh, there's nothing out there. No, there is. That's why I've been on this 10-year journey with Luminous to build a purpose-built system for modern commerce. I am hoping to use Obvi as the best example so that you guys can see through my lens, or I guess see through the lens of Obvi, how similar all of you guys are actually. That's the purpose of the Op Show. I want to show you operations through the lens of Obvi. Obvi's story is such a common one actually. Everyone thinks that nobody understands you. We do. There's a lot of similarities between your brand, my brand that I operated, and Obvi. Throughout the operations show, you're going to see specific examples where your brand is just like Obvi. And that's the goal here. I hope that you see some things that you relate to. And I hope you specifically see how Luminous can provide value in those specific use cases. So come with Luminous and Obvi on this journey as we take you through the operations show. Well, guys, thanks for joining us for episode 1 of the operations show. Honestly, today is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to operations for modern commerce brands like Obvi. Join us next time in episode 2 of the operations show, where we take a look under the hood of a 9-figure brand. We see exactly how they're operating and some of the detailed troubles that they're running into as they scale. Thanks, guys. See you next time.